Welcome to the Nord Show, a podcast where we sit with creators and get their thoughts on all things movies, games, content creation. I'm your host, Joe Aragon. You may know me on TikTok as Cinema Joe, and I'm joined today by Tristan Tales. We'll be talking about their experience creating content, some movies, and answering some community questions at the very end. Tristan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
Doing very well, doing very well. Excited to talk about a lot of things. You picked a movie that I love very dearly, so I'm very excited to jump into that. But before we dive into the rest of the episode, make sure to follow the podcast on Spotify, on Apple, subscribe on YouTube. Check the description of this bio for a link to get a great deal on NordVPN. All right, let's jump into this. Before we jump into the movie, Tristan, you have a very storied career creating content on multiple platforms. So let's start from the beginning, the genesis of Tristan Tales. When did it start? Why did it start? How did it start? What's the story?
Yeah, it's been about like 8 years now. I'd say maybe seven years. Feels like just yesterday, but I started on Snapchat. That was really my first social media platform. Even
Wow.
before, it was before I even started posting on Instagram. I was posting on Snapchat. I used it as a way to tell these sort of short vignettes, these little narrative stories, in which I would have my audience at the time give me. It was sort of like these choose your own adventure Snapchat stories, where the viewers in real time would dictate the direction of my story, and that was sort of my thing for a little while. Interactive storytelling on Snapchat, and then eventually I started doing other platforms like Instagram, and then that grew into YouTube, and then now TikTok.
So naturally, I have to ask, my reaction was genuine when I said, wow, I was actually shocked because you're the first guest I've interviewed that has said, I started with Snapchat. Most people have started with YouTube, which is a very common place to start. Why did you start on Snapchat over something like YouTube that's more traditional?
It was sort of an accident. I kind of went viral on Snapchat, which is a weird platform to say you went viral on. Somebody screen recorded my Snapchat and put it on Facebook and YouTube, and it went viral that way. And then I woke up the next morning and had a ton of new follow requests. But I think the reason, I've never said this out loud before, but the reason I kept on doing it was they expired in 24 hours, so there was less pressure. I think, you're putting yourself out there on the internet, and
That's
I never felt like a natural performer. So the fact that it deleted in 24 hours sort of gave me a safety net where I could, tomorrow decide I don't want to do this anymore, and there was no footprint of me being on the internet.
That's fair.
I think that's truth be told why I like Snapchat worked for me. But the reality of it was I always wanted to be a storyteller, and I found an opportunity with starting with Snapchat, but really social media, to be able to practice narrative storytelling in the palm of my hands without any barrier to entry. If you're a filmmaker, you want to make TV shows, which is ultimately what I want to do. There's so much red tape you have to go through. There's so many approvals and green lights and crews, and you need a budget. But with social media, it was this huge opportunity for me to be able to just test out little stories and see how they would do, and get feedback from an audience in real time. And that was what kept me it's really what motivated me to keep going.
That's fair. And that's a really good point. I like that you talked about the expiration of 24 hours. I'll be honest, I haven't used Snapchat in a hot minute, but when it was in its heyday, I obviously was on it a lot. And it was always nice knowing this would expire in 24 hours.
Yeah.
Is the only way to go viral on Snapchat the way that it happened for you, for someone to screen record it and kind of post it on like a major platform? Or are there ways to actually like get onto like, TikTok, there's like a For You page and there's an Explore page on Instagram. Is there something like that for Snapchat? I'm just asking out of curiosity. I don't know if it's changed or not.
Yeah, there is now. You can have a public Snapchat profile for sure. But back then, no, there wasn't. There wasn't even the discover section. It was just, you had to follow someone and check their updates.
Wow.
So it was very much word of mouth. But what that also meant is there was very little competition. So
true.
it was easy to stand out when nobody else was really looking at it as a creator platform yet.
Yeah. What was the video that started it all? Do you remember what the topic was or the concept was that went viral?
I do. It's sort of the bane of my existence. But I dressed up as I dressed up as a safari tour guide, and I went to my college gym and sort of did like a frat star safari where I went around and acted as if I was like Steve Irwin, and
Have I seen this?
these frat stars were wild animals in their native environment. I'd be like, oh, this one's got the body of a lion, but the legs of a gazelle. And then I would get the reaction. It was terrible. It was terrible,
Wow.
That was the beginning.
I have like a recollection of watching a video like this. Not sure if it was you or maybe a copycat, but I have some type of recollection with this. What I have to know, like, was there any particular reason why you wanted to do something like that, or how was the reaction to the people that you kind of went up to? Were they cool with it? Were they not cool with it?
Yeah, everybody was pretty funny about it.
Okay.
And so I mean, I think there was one person who uh, wasn't down down to clown, but
Down to
you
clown
know,
like that.
but I don't know. I got over that real fast.
Okay. Okay.
I've never really been one to be self conscious or like nervous around people. So yeah.
Okay, okay. Now your content has changed a lot since then. I mean, Tristan Tales, the last part is Tales. I don't
hmm
even think that's actually your last name. Where does this come from, and how has your content changed?
Yeah. So, gosh, it has evolved through so many different stages of my social media journey. Tristan Tales, you're right. It's not my actual last name. It was my Snapchat handle, and it was because I
Mm,
was telling like instead of stories, I was telling tales. And on Snapchat, I was doing these. Uh, like I said earlier, these sort of short stories. Most of them were interactive. They're like choose your own adventures, and then some of them were just they were just like narrative stories. Like there was a murder mystery. There was saving a one where that I had this artwork where you would like tap. And on the next snap, the artwork would like pop or something. It was
oh,
all very interactive, and all little short stories, fairy tale type stuff. Um, and then I got on Instagram, and I started doing Instagram sketches. Oh, actually, sorry. First, it was Instagram stories. So Instagram
mm,
headquarters flew me out to their headquarters up in San Francisco or wherever it was, and it was right when they launched the story feature. And I created this choose your own adventure Instagram story shortly after, and it went viral. I think at the time I only had like 20,000 Instagram followers, and the story got 900,000 views. And it was
whoa.
the first viral Instagram story. I gained like almost, I want to say like almost 100,000 followers overnight from it.
Wow,
Uh,
that's crazy.
yeah, it was pretty wild. So I kept on doing Instagram stories, and then eventually I started when the algorithms change, you try to adapt. I started making Instagram sketches, so like little comedy videos, and then my audience wanted to see more of like my daily life, which led me to vlogging. So I started
Mm.
vlogging on YouTube, and then I'm not sure if you've interviewed many vloggers yet, but if you guys know the vlogger grind, it's very daily and
Yeah.
exhausting, and the burnout was very real. In fact, the vlogging took me so far away from my reason why I started social media. I stopped focusing on narrative content or storytelling, and I just kept on. I kind of got lost in the sauce there and was just chasing those views and the algorithm and trying to put out a lot of quantity over quality.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was exhausting. I ended up burning out, and then I just sort of stopped YouTube altogether. It was like right after I hit 1 million subscribers on YouTube, I was like, I did it. I'm done now.
Take a break. Take a break.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a break. And then I came back, tried some other things, other formats out. I did a little season of sketches to get back into storytelling, and then back into interactive storytelling. I started the Choose Your Own Adventure playlist where I'd make these Choose Your Own Adventures on YouTube. That was my favorite. I loved doing that. And then TikTok came out, and I just I loved it. Was like my secret platform where like nobody really followed me on yet. So
Yeah.
it started off as like my experimentation platform where I was like, I'm just gonna make these weird experimental videos and see what happens for myself, really. And then that gained an audience. And I would say my TikTok audience is my most authentic version, or my TikTok portfolio right now is my most authentic version of myself, because I've gone through this journey, this sort of social media journey where I was trying a bunch of different things out, seeing what works for me, and then found myself back at my roots, which was where I started with Snapchat, which is experimental storytelling and narrative storytelling and more like fairy tale like storytelling. And now, 7 years later, I'm back doing the same thing, but now on TikTok. Just full circle. Yeah.
Interesting. I want to kind of go back to the idea of choose your own adventure in storytelling, because it's obviously very interesting. How do you make a choose your own adventure on something like Snapchat or Instagram when you can only click forward once, but there's multiple options? How does that technically work? Like, as an audience member someone who's listening right now trying to visualize it, how does that work?
Okay, so when I first started doing it on Snapchat, you couldn't even really tap. Right now, you can tap forward and backwards, but before, when I first started, you could tap forward and tap through a story, but I had to do it in real time. So I was saying, like, okay, my friend just cut his hand on a piece of glass. I'm holding my phone right now to my face as I imitate this. But, my friend just cut his hand on a piece of glass and he's going to bleed out. So we need to go to the hospital. And the quickest way to do that is to take a boat out through the lake to the hospital on the other side of the lake, or to go around the mountain. And we were staying at a lake house at the time. This is a true story. And there's this terrible storm going on outside. Anyways, I asked him the question. And then I had another phone, so I would record me opening up the snaps with one phone and opening up the snaps on the other phone, and I'd post in whichever one. I'd post the video, whichever one got the most responses would be the direction it would go. That's how it started. And then when you're able to tap forward and backwards, I started labeling the clips with clip numbers, and sort of like those old choose your own adventure books. I would have them tap to clip 6 if they want to go this direction, or tap to clip 11 if they want to go this direction. So you could actually flip through it, tap through it, and try out all the different endings.
Ah, interesting.
And at that time, you could also upload video. So, I wasn't doing it in real time. I didn't have to film it all on airplane mode and then release it all at once. It became much simpler, but it also much more challenging because I had to film all the options. Whereas before, I was just doing whichever option they chose in real time.
Okay.
So that's Snapchat stories and Instagram stories, was the tap back and forth, tap through books. And then on YouTube, I would just upload a crazy amount of unlisted videos. I mean, I have choose your own adventure videos on YouTube right now that, like, you can't even see the back end, but there are hundreds of unlisted videos because of all the different branches and different endings, which is fun because, you could watch my videos a million times and you'll get a different experience. Yeah, a different experience. Yeah.
Okay. And that's really popular now. I mean, they're still making games now with that type of content. I mean, one just came out last Friday. It's really popular, of choosing your own ending, and decisions have effects on other decisions. So you're doing it before all of this, which is really impressive. I was always wondering how you were doing it on Snapchat, but that makes a lot of sense. And then YouTube obviously allows you a little bit more, with links and ways to click, allow us to go to different videos. TikTok is a lot different, obviously. Are you doing similar stuff in terms of choose your adventure on TikTok as well, or are you just trying to do whatever your kind of heart desires?
Yeah, so I did do a couple choose your own adventures on TikTok. That was really just based off of like the most liked comment or the most commented choice, and then the next video would be whatever they selected. But really, for my TikTok, it's really whatever I feel like doing at the time. A lot of people pick a niche and they have their thing, and I kind of just use it as a form of experimenting, like trying out different types of stories, different formats for stories. So it's not just choose your own adventure on TikTok.
Why do you think TikTok works better than other platforms? And I'm somebody who's also a major, supporter of TikTok. That's where I've grown my social media career as well. Why do you think it works better than something like Instagram or even Snapchat? I don't know. What about it has made it explode, do you think?
I think it's that everyone has the same opportunity, despite your follower count, to reach an audience and to be heard. I think that's fun. I'm not, I'm no algorithm wizard. I never have any clue what the heck is going on.
I don't think anybody does.
Yeah, so I don't know how any of it works, but like sometimes I find the most obscure videos on the For You page, and then I'll like click on the profile and it'll have like 3 followers, and I'm like, this is awesome. Like this is somebody from the middle of America that who had something cool to say, and I get to hear it, and I'm in California. Like that's such a unique thing that I haven't seen yet on social media. I mean, Instagram had the Discover page, and now Snapchat has the Discover page, but none of it quite works the way that TikTok's algorithm works.
Wow, well said. I think it's a perfect example because, you'll be scrolling the For You page one day and see this like person with a dog. You're like, wow, this is the best video ever. And you click, and they have like 15 followers. And that's how people grow. You're right. The opportunity is there for everybody equally, it feels like. So, good points. Let's move to your audience. You've built a really passionate and great strong fan base. What about your community do you love the most?
Oh gosh, we're a bunch of misfits. I would say they are so creative. Like they actually inspire my creativity. So oftentimes when I post a video, I'll speak about TikTok first, because I do have a little bit of different audiences on each platform. Mm-hmm. But for TikTok, for example, I'll post a video and with no intention of making a part 2. And they will start commenting these ideas for a part 2. And I am floored by how creative they are. So all of a sudden I'm like, all right, we're doing a part 2, and I'm pinning their comments to the top. And, the idea that I liked, which I like them all. And so, there's just not enough time to film them all, but I'll film their idea and bring it to life. And it feels so collaborative. And another thing is they're so supportive. You hear a lot about like negativity on social media. I haven't experienced that so much. And I think probably because I am a little bizarre myself. And so I've kind of garnered a sort of a bizarre group of, misfits too, that I guess we all sort of just support each other, and I try to engage with them as much as possible. But I mean, I think about my career. I started on Snapchat doing something completely different than I was doing on YouTube. And now I'm doing something completely different on TikTok, and they've stuck with me through all of my different phases. So I guess I'm also grateful for their loyalty.
Of course,
as I grow up.
Well said in all aspects, the loyalty, the inspiring. You're the first person I've talked to who is properly on TikTok. Everybody I've talked to is maybe on there, but their main platform is either Instagram or mainly YouTube and Twitch. So as somebody who's also primarily on TikTok, I completely understand and relate to like having an idea, and then all of a sudden someone comments something, you're like, whoa, that is a better idea than I had. And then, kind of run with it. It can really just grow and explode. And that's a pretty great thing about TikTok. So good points. Well, we have talked a lot about your content creator career. I could probably keep talking to you about it, but we're going to talk about some movies. Mm-hmm. I sent you a list of movies, and hey, Tristan, pick a movie. We'll talk about it. I will say most people come back with a pretty big popular IP, Star Wars, MCU, DC stuff. Tristan came back with Coraline, which I will say up front, I said earlier, I love dearly. Not what I expected you to choose. So my initial question is, why Coraline over everything?
Yeah, it's a great question. There's so many reasons. I am a fan of fairy tales of all kinds, and this movie is a visually dazzling and sinister fairy tale with a core that is reminiscent of Grimm Brothers tales, and even I'm also a huge fan of Neil Gaiman. I have a ton of his books. He's just such a masterful storyteller. But then the execution alone was so creative. I mean, everything you see on screen was made by hand. I mean, I think I watched a video that described how every blade of grass was painted, all the facial
Yeah.
expressions handcrafted.
Yeah.
There was like 3,000 flowers that they made to light up. I mean, it's so collaborative. 250 people working on it. I mean, it is just what a. I just imagine the creativity and collaboration that went into making something like that, and the creative problem solving, and it it is just a well told story with spectacle to go along with it, and I think that is why I chose that story, that movie. Um, yeah, that's the gist.
Those are all good reasons.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Have you done a video on Coraline before? I feel like I was browsing your YouTube page and there was a Coraline theme video. Am I wrong?
No, yeah, no, you're correct. I did a TikTok video actually where I
Oh,
fell
okay, let's TikTok.
into. Yeah, it might be on YouTube Shorts. I did a TikTok video where I fell into the Coraline world, um, uh, and I was just in a regular house, and I trip and I fall, and the camera sort of falls with me, and I pop back up, and I'm now in front of the Pink Palace, and that was actually one of my first times trying to do compositing, and I composited the Pink Palace up on a hill in the distance and played with perspective to make it work for me, and I sort of brought it to life in this like live action 15-second TikTok.
Yeah, no, I've seen
Yeah.
it. It looks really good. I saw that and I was like, this is a really good interpretation of it. For people who are listening or watching and don't know what Coraline is,
Mhm.
we're talking about it and gushing over it, but how do you explain Coraline to somebody who's never even heard of it? What's like a quick summary of the movie? How do you sell this movie?
Yeah, well, I could tell you how to sell it by talking about the themes, or I can give you a summary of it. But I guess I'll give you both. But
Yeah, let's do both.
it's about a girl named Coraline who moves into this house. Everything's a bit drab. Her parents don't have time for her, and she finds this door, this little hidden door, and behind it is this glowing tunnel that leads to this other world. And in this other world is very similar to the world she's in now, but it's alive, with vibrant with color and these beautiful glowing gardens and a family that is very attentive. So she's right off the bat presented with a grass is greener situation. I mean, I remember being a kid and telling my parents I wanted new parents. There's that theme
Everybody
too.
goes through that.
Yeah. Well, she actually gets that opportunity, but what she realizes is that things aren't as they seem, and this other mother, which is what she calls her, is trying to sew these buttons over her eyes. And anyways, the world starts to sort of become more real, and she realizes that this isn't the place that she wants to stay, that it's her real family that she cares about. And after she realizes this, her own, I mean, should I give spoilers? I feel like,
oh, I mean, the movie's been out long enough. I think
yeah, I feel like,
spoil.
yeah. She realizes that after she realizes that she actually cares about her own family and her own world, and she goes back, her own parents get taken, and she has to venture back into the lair of the other mother to go free her parents and sort of save the day. So it's also a story about bravery, really. So there's a lot of cool themes in there, but she succeeds, or does she? It's open for interpretation. Yeah,
very well said. You sold it well. If people who haven't seen it are listening, you should definitely watch it. It's to the T, a perfect way of explaining it. A lot of people would say Coraline is for a kids movie, and I say kids movies in quotes if you're not watching. A kids movie is pretty scary. It's a scarier movie on the spectrum. Would you agree to that?
Yeah, it's definitely very eerie. It would give me nightmares if I had seen it when I was a child. That's for sure.
Yeah, very fair,
Yeah.
very fair. I want to segue to a question that's kind of always been revolving around the film community, especially recently at the Oscars, where there was a quick statement made about animation being only for kids and not really an adult medium for adults to watch movies. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about somebody saying animation movies for kids? Adults shouldn't be watching animated movies. It's for kids. What your thoughts?
I mean, I couldn't disagree more. Like what better movie to make you feel more alive and something that makes you feel like a kid again?
Yeah.
I, th- I, yeah, I just, there's something that animated movies do that sort of transport us to a different world of imagination through innovative storytelling that I don't think many mediums do.
Yeah. Well said.
And I mean, if you look at the reviews alone on most animated movies, you check Rotten Tomatoes, like 90% of them are in the 90, like the top 90%.
Yeah.
So there's a reason they're so highly reviewed, and the critics on there are not children; they're adults. So that's just like, yeah, it's just it's clearly just not accurate.
Now, I think a good point to make is, do you think Coraline could work as a live action movie?
Yeah, I think people would love to see that.
Interesting.
I do. With technology today and Unreal Engine, and you can make anything really live action. But I mean, I guess what do we define as live action now? Is that just having a character actors? Because so much of the backgrounds and the world building is done with visual
CGI.
effects, which is CGI, which is closer to animation than it is to live action. So I would say like we're moving more towards the animation realm than we are live action, just in general.
Yeah, you're asking some deeply film philosophical questions right now. What is live action? It's something that people argue all the time in the film world because, to an extent, all these movies now coming out are filmed on a green screen. Is that live action? Is it not live action? That's a debate for another day that we'll probably spend 30 minutes talking about.
You have to have me back on.
I know, we'll have to have you back on, and then we'll debate live action versus CGI. Like, is Avatar, the blue people Avatar, is that live action or is it not live action?
It's the perfect synergy of both.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. That's a good answer. That's a safe answer that I'll accept right now. So let's do this. Let's take a quick break, and then after we come back, we're going to do some top threes and then move to some community questions at the end. Are you missing out on your favorite show because it's not available in your region? Trying to keep your private time private? Well, let me introduce you to NordVPN. If you're bored of US Netflix, why not take a spin on the UK? Use NordVPN, and at a click of a button, you can do just that. With over 5,000 server options, no show is out of your reach, and we all know you love to binge, and privacy is a big deal to NordVPN as well. They'll keep your information encrypted and protected, and your location will never get out. Make sure to use the link in Tristan's description and get a great deal on NordVPN and support Tristan's channel. All right, Tristan, we talked a lot about animated movies. This is a good segue. I want to know what your top 3 favorite animated movies are that's not Coraline. So this can go anywhere from the oldest Disney movie to the newest, I don't know, DreamWorks movie. There's a lot of history with animation. What are your 3 favorite ones that's not Coraline?
Oh, gosh. That is a challenging question.
That's the point.
Yeah. I mean, Shrek has a special place in my heart.
Okay. I need to stop you real quick. As somebody who's on TikTok talking about movies every single day, I have a very passionate Shrek fan base, but the fan base for Shrek 2 is probably even more passionate. I
need a hero.
Are you more of a Shrek 2 person or Shrek 1 person?
Because God, Shrek 2 for sure. I gotta say, I'm a Shrek. It's got to be Shrek 2. The gingerbread man has a special place in my heart from that movie alone. Oh God, it was so well told. I loved that movie. That's funny. That's I kind of just bundle Shrek into like one giant, totally the trilogy. Yeah, totally. But yes, Shrek 2 takes the win for me. How about you?
I'm a Shrek 1 guy, but I like Shrek. Okay, I say that, and I always have to say I like Shrek 2 a lot. Don't get me wrong; it's really good. I love that they expand on the universe, but Shrek 1 just always had a soft spot in my heart. So it's like 1A, 1B. It's not even. It's like a very close tie. But I guess I'm Shrek 1. I'll have to admit it.
Fair.
What are some other ones?
So Shrek 1 and Shrek 3. Just kidding. No, I would say I really liked Inside Out.
Oh gosh, wow. You and
I
I have
love.
very similar tastes.
Oh, really? Were you a fan of that as well?
Big fan of Inside Out. I love the creativity of that one. I always I always sob every time Bing Bong dies. It's
I know.
very hard moment for me. Very hard moment for me. I
Don't
love
bring it
Inside Out
up.
though.
Yes,
Okay, Inside Out.
and I also loved Corpse Bride.
Oh, okay, another one.
Yeah, I loved the world there. It's a bit macabre and it's so dreary, which is such a huge contrast to the California life that I've grown up in. I loved it, that Victorian era. Yeah.
All right, you're in California as well. I'm in California as well. Every time I meet someone from California, I'm like, oh, where are you at in California?
Oh, I'm in LA. How about you?
Oh, okay. I'm in San Diego. So
I'm from San Diego.
Oh, no way! Look at that.
Yeah.
All right.
Are you from San Diego originally?
I'm from LA. I'm from LA.
Okay, so we reverse places.
We did a little reverse. Yeah, I know. I won't ask you where in San Diego because I don't want to give away any personal information. But
so my street address is.
Yeah, what is the exact numbers and zip code, sir?
Here's my social security if you need it.
I'm in San Diego proper, so I'm like in like 10 minutes from downtown. So, but
okay,
I love
cool.
It here.
Yeah, I grew up near Del Mar.
Oh, okay, yeah. I mean, of course, everybody knows Del Mar. The racetrack's there. County fair is there right now. It's a lot of fun.
A lot of traffic.
Well, not too. It's not LA traffic. Let's be honest. It's not LA.
That's
traffic.
true. That's true.
All right. That was a quick side on California and the greatness of California. Let's. My other top three I wanted to talk about real quick is 3 movies you recommend to everybody. Ideally, they're not animated, but it could be anything. What are 3 movies that you're like, hey, buddy, watch this. You have to watch this.
Ooh. Well, recently, Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Good choice. Excellent choice. Amazing choice.
So creative in its execution. My goodness. Like, I think they said, the Daniels who were behind it, I think they said they had an 8-person VFX team. I watched them behind the scenes. God, they were shooting things in a garage with 2 TV screens to like next to the person's head on either side. I mean, it was just so creative the way they did it all. I was mind blown by it.
Yeah.
So that's definitely one of them. Another one that is like an all-time favorite, Big Fish.
I love Big Fish.
I love Big Fish. I mean, it's really a compilation of a ton of little fairy tales. It's put into one story. So much fun.
Yeah.
So that one makes me cry at the end.
I was gonna say, do you cry at the end?
I do. But it's funny. It's not like I'm crying because I'm sad. I'm like kind of crying because it's over. I'm just like, yeah.
It's a good combination of being sad and there's like a relief to it, but also there's like a somewhat kind of happiness to it because all the people are showing up. Yeah. I get it.
Yeah. And then Scott Pilgrim vs. the World is one of my favorite movies of all time. Yeah, really that also so creative. I mean, Edgar Wright and his comedic timing with his edits alone and his use of music and sound design is just fantastic.
Yeah. Good one. It's a good choice as well. I love the editing and the colors and just the frenetic of pacing of it all. It's a good choice. Wow, good ones. I would support all of those options as must watches in a lifetime, especially Everything Everywhere at Once. I've been pushing for anybody I talk to go see that movie because it is life-changing. Sounds dramatic, but kind of feels that way.
Yeah. Days after I felt so inspired. I was like, we could do anything in my garage. Like, we could do it all.
You can. And that's a beautiful message about that movie. Is the technical aspect behind it is you can do anything from your living room to your garage with something like TikTok and get out to the world. Yeah, it's pretty incredible. So, and
the thematic aspect is you really can do anything you want. You can jump timelines if you need to. All you got to do is give yourself a bunch of paper cuts between your hands. Don't try that.
What's the best universe in that movie? You think?
The Rocks.
The Rocks. Yes. We've talked a lot about crying. Did you cry at The Rocks?
I can't remember if I cried, but I think I was very emotional. I don't think I cried, but I was emotional. I was like, how am I feeling so much emotion from 2 rocks and subtitles? 2 rocks and subtitles. Like that is just masterful storytelling.
Yeah, that you took the words out of my mouth. I think I said those exact words to a friend. Like, these are boulders and they're talking to each other, and I'm sitting there like all emotional. That is an achievement,
Yeah.
if there isn't one. It's crazy.
I my
Okay.
my my sister. I forced my sister to go watch it, and I don't know why she
Oh,
didn't.
great.
She said she didn't like it, and I was like, I almost had to like start a petition to oust her from my family. I was I was like, do we like?
Uh,
Sorry, you have a tragic taste
oh
in
man.
film.
Yeah, shunned, exiled from the
Shunned,
family for a year
exactly.
until
Yeah.
they've learned to like it. Okay. Well, before we get too off topic, let's get to our last segment here. We had you promote something on Twitter and ask, your followers if they had any questions. We got some very standard questions, but I think always important questions to ask any creator. And that is, what inspires you and your creativity? And then the second part is, what's the hardest part about being a content creator? So, how do you tackle
Okay.
this?
What inspires me? Pretty much everything and anything.
All at
Music
once.
all at once. Music. I would say music inspires me a lot. Anytime I listen to something, I sort of start to visualize different scenarios, scenes, and transitions, and all sorts of uh, stories just through song. So I'd say music is a huge inspiration. Uh, Short story books. I have such a collection. I would show you, but we're on a podcast. But I have just shelves and shelves of short story books. And yeah, I would say those are the main things. And honestly, doing anything outside of the entertainment industry, anytime I get perspective,
Smart.
or travel or get away from content creation, I wind up with a vault of new ideas. Anytime I'm like trying and I'm like working hard and I'm on this like hamster wheel of trying to find my next idea, nothing happens. It's usually when I take a break or I take a moment, a step away, that they all start to flood in.
Yeah, that's great advice too for anybody who's like trying to be a content creator. That the breaks, surprisingly, not only is it good for your mental health, but will surprisingly inspire you for future content. And it's a really important piece of advice. What about the hardest thing about being a content creator?
I would say the hamster wheel. So the algorithm requires so much. The algorithm really requires quantity over quality, and to me, and to a lot of creatives I know, I find that very frustrating because we want to take our time making impactful stories and challenge ourselves creatively, but the algorithms don't reward it. They reward constant output, whether that be good or bad or whatever. You have to continuously feed it. So if you want to take a break to work on something larger, like right now, I'm working on a short story book, and trying to do that but also stay consistent is a challenge. And I think it's really one of the only a lot of careers are like that, but with content creation it's just an endless grind. So I would say that's the biggest challenge, is being able to sort of focus on your long-term projects while sort of shoveling coal into this train to keep it going.
Ooh, nice metaphor. I like that. It's a
Thanks.
good point, and kind of circles back to what we're talking about, the importance of taking those breaks and having those days for yourself. Because yeah, the grind can be daunting, especially on a platform like TikTok, like I said, where quantity feels like it's more rewarded. You don't want to lessen the quality of work, but you also don't want to lose followers. You want to stay relevant. So it can be tough to balance that. So it's also a very, very good point.
Yeah.
Well, Tristan, have reached the end. I could probably talk about a million more things with you, movies and content creation, but we have to come to an end. I want to thank you so much for being on the Nord Show. I hope you had a good time. I had a good time myself.
I did. Thank you for
We'll
having
make
me.
sure to link, of course, of course. We'll link all your information in the description of the episode. And everybody for listening and watching, make sure to follow the Nord Show on Spotify, Apple, drop a review, subscribe on YouTube. And again, thank you everybody for listening.